Are you serious? Are you serious? Black Rifle Coffee, delicious. Guys, we got breaking news. Very dangerous situation is starting to develop. Russia is definitely getting serious about trying to keep Nicolas Maduro in power in Caracas. Russia asked to dock their warship today in the little island country of Malta. They're right in the Mediterranean Sea. A huge Russian warship headed for Caracas, headed for Venezuela in the Mediterranean, stopped in Malta. Russian diplomats were seen trying to acquire tear gas and canisters and riot gear in the island nation of Malta. Officials suspected that Russia plans to load all this equipment onto the warship as they head toward Venezuela. So they had their diplomats on the island go around buying up all this gear. Russia has now withdrawn the request to dock at the warship in Malta. According to officials, as the warship was bound for Venezuela, Malta already planned to reject the request. They weren't going to let them dock that warship in their island. So these Russian diplomats were trying to purchase riot gear, tear gas, gas canisters, and they were going to apparently put them all on the ship. Russia's Ministry of Foreign Affairs and its embassy in Malta did not respond to a request for comment for this weird behavior. The move comes days after Malta, a member of the European Union, denied Russia permission to use its airspace to fly military planes from Damascus, Syria, on their way to Caracas, Venezuela. They wanted to stop and rest or reload or whatever in Malta, but Malta refused to let them. And oh, by the way, even told the Russians, you can't even fly over top our island. You can't have our airspace, because Malta's working with the United States of America on this situation. Now they wanted to stop with their big warship, and their diplomats were running around the country trying to buy up all the tear gas and riot gear. Venezuela is currently experiencing a huge political unrest, mass protest, murders in the street, major power outages, lack of food, lack of infrastructure, lack of water, lack of electricity, lack of sewage and garbage removal, disease, gangs that the president Nicolas Maduro has released from prison. He gave them police uniforms and guns, hired thugs, carrying out assassinations. And now we know that the the Iranian Revolutionary Guard wants to go and help protect Nicolas Maduro. This new incident, though, reported here for the first time, has raised concerns among senior U.S. officials and European government officials that Moscow is looking to boost its military presence in Venezuela and at the same time flex its muscles in the Mediterranean Sea. And Malta said no. Malta stood up to Putin. On March 28th, Russia's embassy in Malta asked the Maltese authorities for permission to allow this large Russian Navy anti-submarine to also dock at the island. They wanted to dock there from April 23rd to April 26th, according to a senior Maltese government official. But the government of Malta said no to the Russians again. And according to the request, the contents of which have been shared, the purpose of the stopover was to pay a business visit to Malta for provisions, the crew. This is a huge new, submarine that has 403 people on it. But Malta initially asked Russia for additional information about the ship's operations and its itinerary. But it has since been told that the U.S. officials in the vessel, it was en route to Venezuela. And the senior Malta government officials are saying. So the sources who spoke on condition of anonymity, thank God these officials from Malta are letting us know the story, due to the sensitivity and the nature of this topic, added that the request, which was withdrawn late Tuesday afternoon, would have been denied by Malta's government anyway. A high-level government official confirmed the U.S. assessment had been shared with Malta. And on the basis of information and sources, the ship, to the best of our knowledge, was ultimately bound for Venezuela, the same U.S. government said. So commenting on the news of recent Russian military flights to Venezuela, this large warship headed to Venezuela, this nuclear submarine large headed to Venezuela, we already know there's Russian troops in Venezuela. There's reports that there's even some Iranian troops mixed in with the Russian troops already in Venezuela, and that the Iranian Revolutionary Guard wants to come to Venezuela to help protect Maduro and keep him in power. This is turning into a war zone. Matter of fact, reports that Russian military planes are flying from Syria to Venezuela via EU countries' airspace has raised alarms in the international community. The Kremlin is one of the main backers of Venezuela's embattled President Nicolas Maduro after opposition leader Juan Guaido proclaimed himself interim president. And Guaido's been claimed that he is the president. That has been accepted. Some people got mad at me and said that President Trump chose Juan Guaido to be president. That is not correct. I did not say that. That is not what I'm saying. Juan Guaido was already the interim president. Trump is just acknowledging him as that. So is 50 nations of the world, by the way. So I just want to make sure we get that right for those of you who were criticizing my report. I did not say he was chosen. He's not a puppet of Trump's. He was already chosen by the people. Maduro won't step down. Guaido's claim is supported by European Union member states, the United States, and 24 other governments, 50 nations of the world. Reuters reported in January that a contingent of private military contractors linked to the Kremlin traveled to Venezuela to beef up Maduro's security at the turn of the year. So, a senior intelligence source is saying that Russian diplomats tried to buy tear gas canisters, riot gear on the island of Malta last week and was going to put them on the boat that was coming. A source, and then they must have then tried to put them in the submarine. But neither one of those, the boat or the submarine, will not be allowed to dock at Malta. Malta hanging tough with the United States and European governments from the West. Anyway, this is what's going on. There's a lot more. We're going to cover the whole story and get you more information during our live broadcast that starts at 12 noon Eastern. We've also got tornadoes touching down in Oklahoma. We've got reports from St. Patrick's Church, attempted arson there in New York City. We also know more information on the Cathedral of Notre Dame that we're going to share with you. Plus there's, by the way, we got an asteroid going to skim by the Earth today, closer than the moon is to us, very close to the Earth, a dangerous asteroid, GC6, asteroid 2019 asteroid GC6, going to skim by today. And tonight, my guest live at 10 p.m., Mike from around the world and the 5 waves of energy. And we're going to talk about this asteroids, and we're going to talk about all these things that are happening now. Planes falling out of the sky. 3 small planes yesterday just fell out of the sky. Mike from around the world predicted this 4 years ago that this would start happening. He said 3 to 4 years it's going to start happening due to the waves of energy, the gravitational waves, the gravitational pull, the heavy density in the atmosphere and stratosphere. What does this all mean? The Planet X, Nibiru, the whole thing. Guys, we're living in the last days. Give your life to Jesus Christ. These are the signs of the last days. Wars, rumors of wars, and all these signs in the heavens.